So you guys had retreated to the other side of the bar to do some more deliberations between the two of you. I believe that has led you guys to make a decision, at least on who to reapproach. So you go back to portable portations.
Yeah.
So he's still sitting in the corner, drinking tea.
Tea.
Listen, Porta-Pal.
Porta-Pal. Should be like face palming in the back.
I got a proposal for you. And
He pleasantly smiles when he says that.
Porta-Pal.
I have a proposal for you.
A proposal for your Porta-Pal.
We have these 2 items. And the 300 gold that you requested for the deal. These 2 items are, as we are pretty confident that you already know, for a specific type of individual, like yourself. Would this item be sufficient to meet the requirement of our deal?
And what magical properties might these items possess?
Let's just say when you're low on energy, they can give you a little boost.
It totally sounds like we're peddling drugs.
Got some Adderall, buddy. Need some help studying?
Oh my gosh.
Perhaps
Pull
you
it out in a dime bag.
Perhaps you misunderstand my use of the term magical.
You guys can consider it magic.
Mm-hmm.
Should say in your mind.
It goes, I like to deal in things that have real power, not altered perceptions of power.
How rude.
You still use it for your personal use.
I like to keep my wits about me. And I don't have customers who tend to...
He thinks they're drugs.
I don't have any customers that particularly come back for the same items.
You think they're drugs. Fix it.
Oh my
Fix it.
gosh. Okay. Let me ask you, because we're trying to be incognito, could at this point she blatantly try and contact him?
Yeah. Now that you know, it would be an intentional knock.
Yeah.
She knows it won't work, but it would absolutely be intentional.
So that they can, like, communicate telepathically and she can basically explain to him what the stuff does.
That's if he doesn't attack me.
Well, that's why it's a knock. You know? It's an intentional...
But if he accepts it, he can attack me.
But you can also attack him, though, right?
Yeah, but that gets to the point I was making before, where I don't really want to have mental fisticuffs, but don't have to.
Well, so since you are, the actual psionicist of the group, do you attempt to intercede and try to correct or collaborate this energy boosting
communication
flower, or you didn't even call it a flower. You just called it seeds.
Yeah.
And they're energy boosting seeds. It's magical energy boosting seeds. I'm just going based off of what your character's describing, and you're a performing artist.
Do the actual people who have psionic ability actually call it knocking? Is that like a phrase?
You don't know. You've never met any. It's just the easiest way to, again, like I said, when you're playing a psionicist, there's a lot of things that you will have to decide how to interpret. Because the way I describe them don't make any sense. Kind of like being blinded by sound.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with your eyes. You're seeing visually just fine, but you cannot see because you're blinded by sound. That's something you have to come to terms with. How does that look?
Yeah.
Does it look kind of like, in some people's interpretation would be like, you can see, but like Daredevil, if there's a loud sound, everything just literally vibrates out of vision. So, however you want to interpret that. So when I say knock, it's a concept. You know somebody came over. So again, the reason why we call it knocking is just like you're sitting here, and let's say Andrew came over to drop something off. Well, if he goes over to Brian's house, and Brian leaves his door unlocked all the time, he can just walk in, put it on the counter, and walk out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here, he has to come in, and it's like, oh, okay, I'll come back later. Like, you hear someone trying to open the door. So the knock is that, but the reason why it's called a knock as well is because with psionicists, once they know each other, if you do it to a known psionicist, you know all it's going to do is get their attention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know it's going to just be a tap on the shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
mentally. That's why people call it knocking or tapping. Out of game, that's typically the two terms you'll hear, but your character would not know that's a common thing. But you know the sensation.
Yeah.
And you know what it indicates. And these are also things that you probably could have also learned from your celestial statue friend.
It's true.
And we were able to figure out that these actually do recover PSP, or was that...
They're yes. I was able to
They essentially
legend lore
hold, and you can either regain or utilize directly from them essentially 10 PSP per.
Mm.
And the idea is that because it's essentially part of the flower that holds the pollen, it can either be just essentially ingested for immediate use,
Mm-hmm.
but the reason why it's said that way on two different sides is if you were, let's say, very close to passing out because your PSP was low, you'd want to ingest it for the recovery.
Yeah.
But if you have a super low level ability, but you want to just keep your reserves ready for the bigger fight,
Mm-hmm.
you could crush it real quick, and even if you're at max, you temporarily get that so you can use it instantly. And if you're at max, if you don't use it quick enough, it'll just go away. You don't get to go over your max because you can only hold so much.
Yeah.
But if you are under your max and you use it, it will stay with you because it just replenishes.
Right.
Excuse him, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
He kind of perks up and goes, I see. Is there a... Perhaps, or is there a misunderstanding?
We're not trying to offer you things for recreational use.
Mm-hmm.
Player's thinking. Essentially what character would be saying is these aren't something that you would give away. These are something that you would use for yourself.
That hardly sounds magical.
Anything out of the ordinary is magical.
He would just smile and say, "Tell that to a mage."
Just turn to me and be like,
And laugh just like that. Just be creepy about it.
You act like mages are ordinary.
Are they not? He says almost just as if he couldn't hold back laughing.
and then you say, tell that to a mage.
How about you tell that to a mage?
Almost just with like a scowl in his voice, just gladly.
Oh, someone doesn't like mages. So why do you ask for magical items then?
To prove a point.
Interesting.
I'm getting some superior race vibe right now.
Say that out loud.
Yes. Is this just a human? Looking
like
human?
Looks like it.
Oh shit.
His response is, so what'd you say?
I'm getting a superior race vibe here.
Superior is only the beginning.
Superior is what?
Only the beginning.
Oh gosh.
Just gonna stare him down.
Oh.
He's sipping tea as they're having this, like, stare battle.
Okay. You guys want me to give you the boot or something?
Yes.
So if you don't like mages,
Okay, so
you want this magical item just to prove a point?
can I softly start humming in order to influence reaction? Or influence audience, I guess you could say?
No, because you have to be doing some sort of performance. You have to be able to get their attention. Like, actually have them paying attention to your... He's a little bit distracted right now.
Yeah. Dang it.
I think at this point... I don't know. I think she would have gotten over her initial, like, fear of it being another person.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if she would be naive enough to try and contact again. Because she did it with the celestial being.
Mm-hmm.
That was really the only other being of intellect, I guess, that she's had that kind of communication with. Because I don't think she really encountered anybody else on her.
Well, yeah, you can, I mean, if you want, you can give that a try, or you can continue trying to explain exactly what it is that you have.
Well, but he does have a point, though. They aren't technically magical.
Are you sure he actually understands what they do?
Mm.
It went from, don't listen to this guy who makes it sound like there's drugs. You're not going to want to give these things away. They're not for recreational use, but they're just for you. He still may not exactly understand. And you don't know what he got from him when he talked about him. Just giving you guys, different way to look at it.
Yeah. I don't know, I guess I'm having a hard time trying to think of a way to present it without just blatantly coming out and saying, like, hey, when you try to talk to people with your mind?
Yeah, but I mean, you also are in a crowded bar. I mean, did you guys sat down yet?
Yeah, I thought that was...
Well, you guys approached the table, but I mean,
yeah.
do you guys...
I imagined us, when we approached the table, we, reintroduced ourselves and sat down and joined him at the table as we were.
So if you're sitting down, you could, kind of lean in and then just kind of like... I don't know, how would you talk about something you don't want to talk about in a public place?
You do have telekinesis. So you could just, maybe take his teacup that he's been sipping and bring it over to your hand.
And then be like, so, what if I wanted to do that a couple extra times without feeling tired? You know, something along
Take his tea and sip at it.
I feel like...
But you know what I'm saying is there's ways to say it without saying it if that's what you're
Right.
looking to
True.
do. You
Yes.
would just have to find a way to emphasize the effect without coming out and saying it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be, if you don't feel comfortable being that obvious, but then again, moving something a couple inches may not be that noticeable in public.
Or just the next time he tries to grab onto it, you move it a couple inches out of his reach.
Oh, I like that one. Let's do that one.
Or wait for the next time for him to pour something in, and once he drops his sugar or cream in it, you start stirring it for him. Just like he goes to grab the spoon, and as he goes like this, it's like it's already being
Swirling.
stirred. But yeah, so that's just another idea of how you can approach trying to. If you still want to use those, you'd have to just basically do that, or you could also go the route, and this would be more from your managerial experience that you would maybe consider this. It would cost a lot more, but you could also just give him one as this is what we're willing to give you, and see if he see what he does with it. I mean, you can't really, if you want to show him one and let him interact with it.
Do you have them on you?
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know what's going to happen. He may have to use it in order to figure it out, but the point is if you want to sacrifice one, because he may or may not know what it is by looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
But if he interacts with it, so just throw in different ways that you can approach the situation out there.
And you had told him we only had 2 of them.
No, you guys haven't told him anything about it yet.
I told him that we had...
You offered him to. You said, what if I had 2 magical items? And then you went into your drug-like description. But all you said was, what if I had 2?
Mm-hmm.
You never said, well, we have these 2. You just said, well, what if I had 2?
Mm-hmm.
And then you went off into a description that made him think that you had, 2 8-balls of, cocaine or something.
Well, shit.
Yeah, I mean, how are the spores? Are they contained in anything, or is it something that you can hold on to?
I'm trying to think of, I've been trying to think of a good, representation of, because I know what it looks like in my head, but I'm trying to,
Isn't there something like that
a dandelion puffball?
So,
everywhere.
so...
in either Willy Wonka or The Wizard of Oz, I feel like one of them had something where a bunch of those things were stuck on somebody. A giant, actual pollen spores. No, it was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids! That's what I imagined.
No, because, the spore, the pollen is actually just like a fine dust that just sits over you. It's like a fine, very fine dust. The spores that you're holding, they're more so the interior would kind of be more like a dandelion, but again, much, much smaller, not so, the whites would be much smaller.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost like it's wrapped in, dead leaves, like a long, thin dead leaves that just kind of wrap like this, like it would have sprouted like this. Or, it would have, when it would have flowered out, a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then it would look like a dandelion on the inside. These are almost before it was, before it bloomed, it was taken off and then dried. So that's why you can easily crush them in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like you would just drop it in
Right.
your purse. But it's easy to just crush them. And then once you do, that's what releases the amount of pollen needed
Right.
to use.
Okay.
Because essentially what you're doing is you're crushing it, and you're breathing in the pollen.
Okay.
I mean, I guess we could offer one of them. You said we had 12?
Make sure. Wait, weren't they on that last inventory page of yours?
$11. We have 11.
Yeah.
I think because you got 12 and you had to use one to figure it out.
Yeah.
Possibly.
So, I mean, I'm carrying them?
Oh,
It makes more sense that you would be carrying
yeah, I think
them.
you are carrying them because I only have the picture for the ring and the wand.
So you'd probably have the spores.
Okay. Probably go that route then. Should probably take one out. Put on the table.
You're just gonna eye it. And what's that then?
That's one of them.
You still haven't told me what it does. Doesn't look very magical.
Pick it up.
He eyes it for a moment. And picks it up. Kind of examines it. He goes, and?
Eat it.
You do know your character knows you don't have to eat it, right?
Yeah.
But you told him to eat it. He just raises an eyebrow and just looks
He's
at
being
you.
a jerk, okay?
And just like... He goes, you really expect me to just eat something a stranger has just handed me?
We still need something from you. If we were going to kill you or harm you, it wouldn't get us what we want. We just need to show you that what we are trying to offer you is real.
Go ahead and roll me persuasion on that one.
Damn it.
Wow.
Persuasion.
So just a d20.
17.
And what was the check for?
Persuasion.
Yeah.
What's the number?
What number did you have to beat?
I think it says charisma -2, so 17.
So you matched it.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, he did not roll very well on anything. So he kind of just looks and goes, you make a good point. And he just tosses the whole thing in his mouth. It doesn't seem to quite be the most pleasurable of experiences.
Probably not.
But after a moment, you see after he bites down on it, and actually like crushes the whole thing, which it seems to be pretty easy that it does.
Mm-hmm.
You see him take a moment, and he actually seems to take like a deep breath, and then he just exhales and seems to get kind of not daydreamy, but he almost seems to just like
narrow.
Yeah, he always just go into his head for a second, and then you see him suddenly start to try and finish like dissolving everything in his mouth, and then like kind of force swallow, and then
that was terrible.
Follow it up with some of his teeth. And he just kind of sits there and just I see. There's like a little like one of like little like dandelion white pieces like at the corner of his mouth.
I'm stimulating.
He brushes it off.
Good job.
He goes, that is not something I've quite ever seen before. He goes, in light of that, I will take 3 and give you the necessary means to get to each island and back.
I'm okay with it. We gotta keep the gold.
You have 10 left. So he wants 3.
Yeah,
and he will give you passage to both islands.
Round trip.
I'm okay with it. We gotta keep our gold.
That's true. I'm willing to accept that offer, but I have one more question.
Of course.
How does your particular transportation work?
Effectively.
Mechanically.
I'm not familiar with the term.
Technically.
Is it a boat? Is it a portal?
It is a fictional thing that goes into the air that doesn't exist in this time.
Well, if I may, what's the term? DM's looking for the term. If I may reciprocate your generous offering, perhaps I should simply show you.
Okay.
Like, okay. What are you doing? Dance party!
Hey.
What?
I don't know what you're talking about. I heard nothing.
You would say, okay, well, imagine it like this. And he takes off one of his rings, and he puts it down on the table. And he takes off another ring, and he puts it down on the table. He goes, for someone like me, based on places that I've been, I can essentially set up a doorway. And as long as I want to, I can create another doorway and step into it. And if I so wish, I can step out of any of the other doorways that I've left behind. And what he actually does is when he puts the ring down, what he does is you actually see him put it down and he says, and I can go back, and then he actually lifts this ring around it. And basically when he lifts it up, it's gone. And then when he, then he puts that ring behind his, but then I can walk back to any others, and when he lifts this ring, the thing's there. And go, and I can go back to any others that I've left behind. And they're definitely, you could tell, especially from a performance value, that he did it with no real, sleight of hand.
Right.
He literally just lifted it up and then lifted it up.
So would that be something that she would have kind of learned about? Is a possibility.
Possibility, yes. You're not exactly sure what version that he's using, but you can definitely think that that's well within the realm of that ability, of your potential future abilities.
Right. Sweet!
So,
Is that what your character does?
Unlike
in your
others that you will find, my option not only leaves you intact, but it also saves you time, and it doesn't risk your physical travel.
It's true. There's no way our stuff's gonna sink.
More meaning that this particular travel is not going to cause any potential to physically harm you.
So how would we come back?
So, essentially, I have set locations. When you are ready to leave, you'll go to the one here. You'll depart and arrive at the one that I've left behind. And when you're ready to come back, you'll return to that spot. And you'll come back here.
Just any time. We can go back to that spot.
As long as it exists. But I choose my spots wisely. It should have little to no disruption.
So you're all on board for it.
Let's go.
So that I guess we have a deal.
Excellent. He gives you essentially a time and place. I'm assuming you want to leave ASAP. Or would you like to leave the next day? I mean, technically, you could officially leave first thing in the morning.
Right. Feel like...
I mean, you could leave right this second, but then again, you have to go find your guy, get everything together. So it really doesn't change much. It's just would your characters want that one night in town?
Yeah, let's just wait until the morning.
The next morning?
So he'd give you a location and a time. He said he would say, arrive as close to sunrise as you can.
Mm-hmm.
But he'll be there waiting with all the equipment, and he'll essentially show you how to use the ability.
Okay.
And at that time, we can do the exchange.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Dog,
Write down in the notes. We're gonna give him 3 in exchange to round trip travel for us and our gear and our carriage and
okay.
to both ends.
So we have 3.
Ta-da! We win.
3 spores for Island 1 and Island 2.
What level are you guys right now? 3?
4.
He's 4. I'm 3.
See? Not bad timing.
Okay.
Alright, so you got it all written down?
Cool.
Alright, so you guys essentially I don't think you guys need to do anything special, so you guys can then enjoy the night. You guys will easily find good accommodations. We'll say just minus 10 gold for the entire time you've been in the docks.
Cool.
Because you've been in the nicer part at this point, so...
And we've had most of our
considering
stuff
we
for
gained
free.
26 gold, that means we netted 16.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is
But,
true.
nice meals, good place to stay. You guys would send a word off to your buddy. Let him know what's going
Be
on.
ready
and
in
then,
the morning.
Yeah, hopefully next gaming session we will start with that interaction. We'll get you guys to the island, and we will move on from there.
Super exciting.
Woo woo.
Yeah, that's good.
Alright. Podcast. Number
Getting it.
1.48. Complete.